we're talking about. A new report filed with Elections Canada is alleging that foreign money affected the outcome of Canada's last federal election. According to the report, which we have not been able to look at and verify for ourselves, U.S. cash helped fund a number of Canadian third parties' efforts to oust the Conservative Party. The report is written by a group called Canada Decides, and its findings were uncovered this week by the Calgary Herald initially. So what evidence does the group have to back up such claims? Joining me now from Calgary is the former Conservative Member of Parliament for Calgary Centre, Joan Crockatt, and a familiar face here. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Rosie.
Okay, so the last election, it took place a while ago.
It was a while.
It was a while ago. So walk us through what you and your group are alleging took place and why you're bringing that up now.
Well, essentially, what we discovered, and it was more by happenstance because we wanted to know what happened in the last election and who were some of the groups that were effective out there. And we stumbled across initially what we thought was just some interesting people that were out there connecting with millennials in particular. But when we started researching further, and this ended up encompassing about 14 researchers across the country who had been involved in this. We found that it looked like there had been enormous foreign influence, foreign money coming into Canada, basically funding third-party advocacy groups who were out there campaigning on the doorsteps, delivering literature, doing polling, doing phoning campaigns, and all under the guise of third parties with foreign money.
Okay, and you allege it was about $700,000, is that right?
Well, actually, we think that there were about 8 or 9, depending upon how you count them, third parties that registered with Elections Canada that said, okay, we're going to go out, we're going to influence voters in this election, who received about, over $1 million from Tides Foundation in the U.S. in election year. So this is in 2015.
Right.
And we said, this just can't be right.
So they took money from this Tides Foundation, used it to go and into particular ridings. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I mean, these are allegations right now. They need to be proven. We've launched a complaint with Elections Canada. But let me just read you the Elections Act. So foreign influence, in our view, is absolutely forbidden in Canadian elections. And this is Section 331 of the Act. It's not long. Non-interference by foreigners. It states specifically, quote, no person who does not reside in Canada shall, during an election period, in any way influence electors to vote or refrain from voting, or vote or refrain from voting for a particular candidate. So to us, that seems to be, very clear and straightforward that foreigners can't influence Canadians in elections.
Except I guess the difference here is, although it was foreign money, it was Canadian groups that were going into, and this was very public during the election, that there was a number of groups, including Lead Now, that were going into particular ridings. I think there was 29 of them to try and push out Conservatives that they believed that they could push out. But you're saying the problem is that they were also relying on money from somewhere else.
Well, actually, there's another section of the Act that says that you cannot take foreign money within 6 months of an election period and campaign in an election. So our Elections Act, we feel, is pretty strong. It's a question of interpretation, and it's a question of enforcement. We really want to shine a light on this because we were astonished, shocked, and frankly appalled, and said, this can't be right. Under Canadian election law, that we could have foreigners coming in here. It could be Russia, could be Iran, could be Saudi Arabia, could be China, could be anybody. Would you expect as a Canadian, Rosie, that those guys could come in here and spend almost unlimited amounts of money without this being against the law?
Okay, so what do you say to critics that say that you and others are only pursuing this because you, A, lost the election, and you in particular lost your seat?
Yeah, well, it's, I'd love it if it were all about me, but it's actually not. It's way bigger than me. I mean, I think I happen to be one of the MPs that they targeted, and, that bites. But this is about the sanctity of Canadian elections. It doesn't matter what party you're from, what your political persuasion is. I think most Canadians believe that Canadians should be deciding our election law. And it's not right if foreigners are coming in here and spending what could be unlimited amounts of money to influence, to send people, paid staff, door to door, delivering flyers to you on foreign dollars. Does that seem right to you when candidates, legitimate candidates and parties can't do that? That's a double standard.
Do you think that Conservatives lost the last election because of the influence of this money?
Well, let me tell you what they said about this, which is I find quite interesting. So the third parties take credit for having defeated Conservatives in 96% of the ridings in which they were active.
Right, but I'm asking
So
you,
don't
I'm
take-
asking you whether you think Conservatives lost the election because of this.
You know, I wouldn't go that far. I think this is about the sanctity of the Canadian election process. If Elections Canada finds that out, if the public prosecutor finds that out, and I believe this should be referred to the Public Prosecution Service of Canada, then that is for them to state. What I'm saying is to Canadians, hey guys, you know, we need to wake up and realize this isn't just happening in the U.S. They're getting all excited about Russians having, you know, leaked some emails. Here we have direct evidence that 8 or 9 third parties took, you know, over $1 million from foreigners in election year and then went out and campaigned to try to change your vote.
But surely you're not suggesting Russia hacking into emails is the same as foreign money coming into our election?
Absolutely. I think what's being alleged in the U.S. is foreign influence in the U.S. election. And that was in terms of them hacking emails that, you know, from all I've heard, those may actually be real emails. Here in Canada, we have evidence of direct foreign money going into groups that were actively working to change your vote.
Okay, so then why is nobody going after the groups? If your conclusion is that this is illegal and shouldn't be allowed, why is Elections Canada not going after them? Isn't it because there does have to be some sort of law change in order for the crackdown to occur?
Well, remember, we're alleging this until it actually is investigated. But Yves Cote appeared, the Commissioner of Canada Elections, appeared before the Senate Committee on Legal and Constitutional Affairs in April, and he said issues of significance have been raised. And Senator Linda Frum said, this isn't theoretical. This happened in the 2015 election, and he didn't contradict her. I think the issue has been raised. But what we need to do is make Canadians aware of it and make sure Canadians are involved in saying, hey, guys, you know, this doesn't ring true to us. I mean, I've talked to millennials who think they were sold a bill of goods because they went out and did what some of these third parties were telling them to vote strategically, and actually those third parties were being funded by foreign dollars. Really? Is this foreigners influencing our vote, or is this Canadians having sanctity over the most basic thing in a democracy is we get to decide who our government is?
Right, although those people did make their decision when they went to the ballot box themselves, even if they were influenced by people on the outside. So let me end on this.
This is why we have election rules that limit spending.
So let me ask you this then. What do you want? You want to see an investigation, clearly, by Elections Canada. What would you like to see as the end game for them to firm up the rules so this doesn't continue to happen?
Well, first of all, I think we all need to stand up for our freedoms and not rely entirely on Elections Canada to do this. But what we've asked Elections Canada, they've actually begun to investigate the complaints, but their process is they must refer it to the Public Prosecution Service of Canada. It's a separate entity. If they take it seriously, we want to see them refer that to the Public Prosecution Service of Canada for a full and thorough investigation. And we also, you know, Senator Linda Frum has a bill coming up. We think the act could be strengthened, but we actually think that the laws are there right now to prohibit foreign influence. We want to see them enforced.
Okay, Joan Crockatt, good of you to bring this to us, and appreciate seeing you again. Thanks.
Thank you, Rosie.
We did reach out to the group Lead Now. It is one of the groups mentioned in that Calgary Herald article about the Canada Decides report. No one from Lead Now was available for an interview, but it did send this response. The allegations raised in the column in the Herald today are inaccurate. No international money went towards our 2015 election campaign. We have filed and submitted an electoral activity report and campaign audit with Elections Canada. Lead Now is confident Elections Canada has a comprehensive understanding of the campaign, and we are in compliance with all laws.